there isn't an asset class in the world today which is at the intersection of more economies than sport is. Attention, passion, experience, lifestyle, retail, media. The sport economy is expected to grow to be about $9 trillion by 2040, and that's a conservative estimate, accounting for all the related economic impacts it has across sectors. Just to lend some perspective, that would make the sports economy the third largest economy in the world after US and China.
Right.
That's the scale and significance of sport today. Now on to cricket. There's a lot said about how big cricket is in India, and cricket in India is the sport's biggest endowment.
Right.
It's the same with NFL in the US,
right.
and maybe football in Europe, where the economic power of the sport comes from certain regions that contribute disproportionately to its endowment and to its strength. But what we are seeing now with cricket, and this has been observed over the last year, is only 60% of cricket's audience actually comes from India.
Right.
So of the 2 billion fans that we have, almost 800 million are not in India. Right. They're spread across South Asia, yes, but they're also in evolved and developed economies like the UK, Germany, Australia, and now increasingly in Southeast Asia. And I think that's the next phase of cricket's journey, which is where do the next billion fans come from? Yes, right. There is immense opportunity in continuing to strengthen its core markets, which will continue to be our focus. You want to deepen the engagement, you want more fans affiliated to the sport than ever before in core markets, but you're also beginning to see green shoots in markets, as you said, such as Japan, South Korea. Interestingly, Indonesia, the current Women's T20 World Cup that's going on, is being broadcast in 14 languages around the world. The reason for that is because we've seen that women's cricket is actually leapfrogging men's cricket in certain parts of the world. So in a country like Brazil or in a country like Thailand, in fact, even in Indonesia, right. It's women's cricket that's proving to be the multiplier as far as the growth prospects of the sport are concerned, instead of men's cricket. So it can't be a one-size-fits-all. We will pursue very different approaches and almost have a custom-made strategy for each of, let's say, the 20 markets that we believe are high potential and are already showing green shoots.
Just in terms of technology, going direct to fans globally, what changes, what's your future vision for the ICC from a discovery, personalization, getting to fans? Where is it still more narrative and hype than real strategy? What are you looking at?
We are resetting the framework. Vivek, you and I have discussed this. Across 4 major imperatives, the ICC and broadly the cricket ecosystem has to reevaluate itself for the future. A big mistake that most stakeholders in sport tend to make is that they are wedded to the models that they have been operating with. Legacy, by virtue of the deep affiliation that sport tends to have amongst fans, also breeds a sense of complacency and a sense of legacy which at times needs to be disrupted for us to be able to genuinely build what is going to be relevant locally and significant globally for the future. I genuinely believe that the business model of the future for sport will look like nothing that the sport currently has. Yes, media rights will continue to play a strong role or have a disproportionate share of the revenue, because ultimately no asset class or no content genre aggregates audiences with the same level of passion and emotional investment as sport does, a lot of them experiencing the same thing at that point in time, right? So it's point-in-time consumption, aggregated at scale with deep affiliation. And the surround around it happens to be the affiliation that doesn't stop with the engagement. It's not right. a movie that you watch and you maybe have residual emotional effects of that movie for the next 24, 48 hours. it actually stays with you for life. So one of the things that we've started looking at now is not just to look at engagement, but to look at what we believe are consumer life cycles associated with cricket. I think stakeholders in the ecosystem tend to be extremely reductive in the way they think about sport and its broader ecosystem. And I'll just explain what I mean by that. In most businesses and most commercial endeavors, 80% of the value is created by 20% of the product.
Right.
You don't have 100% of the product creating 100% of the value. It's the pyramid of value creation, right?
Yeah.
So it applies equally to sport. It doesn't make the 80% irrelevant, because that 80% still has relevance either today or could have relevance tomorrow. If the value of a World Cup, and take the example of the FIFA World Cup going on right now, over the next 10, 20 years will come from the Cape Verdes of the world, who then, despite a population of 500,000, managed to draw a match with Spain. And that adds the unpredictability and a jeopardy to the global marquee event such as the FIFA World Cup. Then there is investment required to grow participation in the sport. Also, let's be realistic about a sport such as ours. We're a truly global sport spread across practically every continent in the world, and not every market will consume the sport the same way.
Right.
There is immense legacy and heritage associated with the Lord's Test in June or the Boxing Day Test match in Melbourne.
Right.
Right? There is significant balance of that prestige and legacy that is created in value terms by the men's T20 World Cup, which now has 20 teams, including the likes of Italy, UAE, and many other nations that now want to participate in that event. And those two imperatives have to be balanced. You have to balance the imperative to strengthen what is core in different markets with what is new and effectively a growth driver in the markets that you want to expand to. The importance of the Olympic Games and cricket's inclusion in LA 28, the full impact that it can have on the global context that the sport has is still not fully understood. It's not just about cricket being showcased at LA 28. It's about the cascading effect that the cricket ecosystem can potentially benefit from by virtue of being a part of the Olympic Charter. So the symbiotic nature of the relationship that the Olympics and cricket can have is at times not fully understood in terms of the scale of impact that it can have on where the sport is today versus where it can be tomorrow. And I think that's the one to keep an eye out for. It's not just about cricket featuring in LA 28. It's about what cricket's inclusion does for the ecosystem, and especially in the context of its growth potential is in newer markets and with newer audiences.